Jana nimeona wale wazee tulishinda. Ati hiyo mzee akisema ati he will not be coerced or intimidated to joining our government. Wewe mzee sikia. We have no business within our government. Hatuna haja na hatugojei wewe. We are not looking for you and we have no time. The last time uliingia serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta aliharibu wako haribu. Mungetaka akaribie serikali yetu? Mungetaka akaribie? Hawa wakae huko wafanye kazi ya oversight. Watukosoe, watuambie pahali tumekosea, watukaze kule bunge, hiyo ndio kazi yao, na wakifanya hiyo kazi tutasonga pamoja. Niguadwa ito. Kana mukwenda twete mundu cio thirikari itu. Ate niguara ugaga ira ate nituramwira oke kia hinya. Ithuĩ no tumwĩre oke gwitu. Wewe mzee wachana na sisi. Wachana na sisi.
Nimefurahi leo kufika hapa Kenol. Vile mnasikia, mara ya mwisho nilikuja hapa Kenol, tulikuta polisi amesimama juu ya madhabahu na tear gas. Ndio mjue shetani yako na kiburi. Huyo shetani alikuwa amemea pembe sana hapa Kenya. So lakini mimi nimefurahi ya kwamba leo tumekuja hapa Kenol. Wale ambao walifanya hiyo maneno na vile Rigathi amesema si ukweli. Mimi actually I'm the one. Mimi ndio ningewaomba msamaha. Kwa sababu hiyo serikali ilikuwa mimi na Uhuru ndio tulitengeneza. Si ndio? Lakini tukapata wafanyikazi wengine wa kiburi na madharau na wajinga ndio wakakuja wakapiga tear gas kanisa. Unaona ile hasara tumepata. So kwa kanisa poleni sana. Mimi naomba msamaha kwa sababu sisi ndio tulitengeneza hiyo serikali. Lakini wale walifanya hiyo mambo ya aibu, Mungu amewashusha. Na Mungu amewanyenyekeza. Na saa hizi wanajuta mahali walipo. Ili wajue ya kwamba kuna Mungu mbinguni na hakuna nafasi. Vile Deputy President amesema, hakuna nafasi tena itafanyika katika taifa letu la Kenya ya kwamba tear gas itatupwa kanisani. Haiwezi kufanyika tena. We want to assure the church, we want to assure religious leaders, we want to assure every Kenyan that places of worship are sacred and no government will go and interfere in places of worship. Not my administration. We will make sure that we have respect for places of worship and we have respect for our spiritual leaders. We are going to work together because this is God's nation. Hii ni nchi ya Mungu na tunamheshimu Mungu kiasi hiyo.
That was the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and the President of the Republic of Kenya speaking at a function last Sunday at a place called Kenol. And folks, we have some very clear pointers, political pointers here, that in case you've been ignoring, you must now start taking careful note of. Because indeed it will affect all of us, not just you dear supporters. And that's why I followed this meeting so closely, to get the direction of the brand new Kenya Kwanza government. In my opinion, a message of forgiveness and a message of embracing those who you believe have wronged you. That message is long overdue from our clergy, because forgiveness is at the very core of fearing Almighty God and worshiping Him and being a follower of Almighty God. Now I hope many of us will have realized that in politics, a politician can say anything. In fact, most times politicians say something that is the very opposite of the reality on the ground. They try to sell you narratives all the time, because we know that a vast majority of Kenyans are still hurting from our recently concluded presidential elections. Any keen political observer, let alone an analyst, knows that the UDA, Kenya Kwanza government, has a problem of legitimacy, which cannot be wished away, not even by saying yule jamaa wa handshake, yule jamaa aliharibu kila kitu, yule jamaa wa azimio kuzimia. It can't be wished away, whatever you say. And if one is to succeed, we all know that something has to be done by the government, to address this issue of those millions of Kenyans, the vast majority, who are feeling very hurt, very cheated, who want justice. And that cannot be wished away. And that can certainly not go away. But on my show today, I focus on the consequences, possible political consequences, that will most probably result from the government deciding to take this kind of direction in terms of narrative and rhetoric, especially in our current environment, where there's so many Kenyans out of a job and people are crying and complaining about the price of unga, as well as the price of many basic commodities, and even the price of fuel, petrol. Stay with me as we dive into that. I'm sure it will be very interesting. Indeed, more than interesting for all of us. A quick heads up. I have done something I said I would not do, but in my position, I have to respond to what people are saying. I have to respond to what you're saying. So for a very brief period, we're extending the amazing offer, which many of you have quickly taken up. I'm keeping the door open only for a very short time. So please rush. I believe you can see details on your screen right now. If you've not taken up this offer, rush before you're locked out and take up this offer. And you'll be able to take in the double release, the recent double release of WIB number 90 and number 91, as well as all the other back editions of my very sensitive weekly intelligence briefings. I highly recommend it. Now, the details you've been seeing on your screen are also repeated in the description area below, so that in case you miss it, you can always retrieve it in the description area below, so that you take action. Right! Twende kazi. In the heart of the Mount Kenya region are 3 counties that have a lot of political history. Murang'a, where the deputy president was on Sunday, Kiambu, and Nyeri. Kiambu is known as a place where the home guards the collaborators with the colonial masters of Kenya, the British, hailed from. People like the late Charles Njonjo got an education because his father was a blue-eyed boy of the colonial government. He was a collaborator. Nyeri, of course, is the home of the gallant Mau Mau freedom fighters. And Murang'a is the place where the greatest sons of Kenya, those who have fought gallantly for a better Kenya, sacrificed everything for a better Kenya, hail from. People like Bildad Kagia, who hails not very far from Kenol, Murang'a, where the Sunday meeting with President Ruto unfolded. Charles Rubia and Kenneth Matiba, two great heroes of Kenya's second liberation. Now it is super fascinating that the Deputy President chose the home of Bildad Kagia, Charles Rubia, the home county, and Kenneth Stanley Njindo Matiba, very great sons of Kenya, as the first place to hold a Thanksgiving service. Make no mistake about it, this was deliberately chosen by the president's handlers, and for a very good reason. You see, currently, there is a growing narrative that actually the Mount Kenya region did not vote how Kenyans think. There is a growing narrative that the Mount Kenya region actually voted as a Mio and for Raila Odinga and his brother in the handshake, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And obviously, politically speaking, this is not a good narrative for President Ruto. And it's something that has to be nipped in the bud, destroyed very quickly before it actually picks up a lot of momentum. Hence this Sunday interdenominational Thanksgiving prayer service. Now, for those who followed the reports on this particular presidential function, you will not have missed the fact that there was an effort, a very spirited effort, to highlight the appointments into cabinet from the region. The appointment of former Kandara legislator Alice Wahome as the CS Water, and the surprise appointment of Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, who was Mwai Kibaki's Central Bank of Kenya governor. He was governor during the era of Mwai Kibaki, whom many Kenyans view as a success story as far as the Kenyan economy is concerned. Many Kenyans believe he grew the economy. Many Kenyans believe that when he left office, Kenya was in a much better place economically. We had virtually no debts. Our economy was actually taxing enthusiastically for takeoff. But then of course we know what happened after 2013, leading up to the situation today, where we are up to our years in debt, Chinese debt mostly. In fact, these two appointees were given a chance to greet the people, to address the people, and to thank President Ruto in front of the Murang'a audience for appointing them, signaling for anybody who had missed it that we are back to political cabinet ministers, cabinet secretaries, political appointees, and appointees for the sake of regional balancing. Something which was clearly not envisaged by those who put together our constitution, our 2010 constitution. Because the truth is, unless you can wipe out a leopard spots or a cheetah spots on their bodies, then it is not possible for you to pluck out a politician from the political field, give them a cabinet position, and expect them to turn into something else, non-political. That is, of course, impossible. It is, of course, possible if you can actually remove the spots from a cheetah's body. Can you? Can it be done? Of course not. Older Kenyans will tell you that they felt very much in their hearts that we are back to the Moi days, former President Moi days, the days of political patronage, the days of mtukufu rais ni mzuri, amefanya hii, atafanya hii. Mtukufu rais is not even human. Mtukufu rais is too good, above reproach. Yeah, because if you listen to those speeches at Kenol Muranga, this is precisely what we're being told by speaker after speaker. But the highlight for me from this particular very fascinating political stroke Thanksgiving religious service was when somebody was called Shetani, the devil, right there in the church service. Yeah. And I want to take time to break that down and understand what it means politically, without any emotion or my feelings, just to coldly analyze it. But before we do that, I want us to take a short break so that I give you some super fascinating information about another video right here on this channel. Did you know that it is very possible for you to be driving at a very high speed, or for a matatu driver somewhere to be driving at a very high speed, and then something happens that the driver immediately notices, and maybe observant passengers notice, and then none of you realizes that this new development in the vehicle, which somebody has noticed, puts you in grave danger, because you no longer have, wait for this one, your brakes working properly. Oh yes, many people don't know this about a modern vehicle. Now, I did a video some time back about a tragedy in Mombasa, at the Mombasa ferry, where this particular aspect in a modern vehicle came out very clearly. And we reconstructed, based on eyewitness reports, what may have happened to cause this tragedy, where a vehicle appearing to have no brakes reversed into the ocean at the ferry, according to eyewitnesses. Now, there's a link to that particular video on your top right hand corner. Click on it, put that video aside. You can take it in immediately after this. I've of course also repeated the same link in the description area below, and also at the end of this video, on the top right hand corner. So please find time to take in that video. It is super fascinating, and I'm sure you learn something about modern vehicles that many of us don't seem to know. I myself did not know this. It was quite an alarming discovery for me. So that's something you can look forward to enjoy immediately after this video. Right, let's get back to business. The remarks of the president, which you all heard at the very beginning of my show today, and which was echoed by many speakers at Kenol Muranga, confirms that this government, key people in this government, the decision makers, are still very bitter towards the previous administration. Now, while there's a lot of evidence to prove that actually there was some victimization, although I know Azimio supporters will not agree with me, but still that's not even the point. My point is, in politics, it is very important as you move forward to ensure that you do not have baggage, especially bitterness baggage from the past. Nelson Mandela walked out of prison in South Africa after losing all the prime years of his life behind bars. He was behind bars for 27 long years. He had every reason to be very bitter. So bitter that he should have looked for every opportunity for revenge. But this great African, what did he do? He didn't do that. He moved on. He was even called a traitor for forgiving. But the results of what he did can be seen by the whole world even today. Long after Nelson Mandela himself has left this earth, gone. Because the great man took the noble decision to put the past behind him for the greater good of the nation, for the greater good of the vast majority of South Africans. But if somebody does not have it in them to forgive, if somebody does not have it in them to move on, and that person is a very powerful individual in a country, and they cannot even forgive during a prayer service at an altar, a Thanksgiving prayer service, then you know you have a problem which will catch up with you sooner or later. And guess who's going to suffer the most? You, dear? No. It is the people of Kenya. You and I. Because African wise people have a saying, ndovu zikipigana, nyasi ndio itaumia sana. When two bull elephants, huge elephants, fight somewhere in the African savannah, what suffers most is the grass they're trampling on as they fight viciously. That is a wise saying from Africa. And it applies 1000% to this particular case. And that is our current politics and where it is headed. Take it or leave it. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.